Happening now, a new investigation reveals Baltimore drivers got nearly 1 million tickets last year for speeding, running red lights, or parking illegally. This morning, Jeremy Portnoy, an investigative journalist with Open the Books, is joining us live to break down his findings and what this means for our city. Jeremy, good morning. Break down some of the tickets being issued here. What are we seeing?
Good morning, Megan. So we just got all this data from the Department of Finance. They told us last year the city charged drivers $24 million for speeding tickets, about 600,000 of those, $12 million for red light tickets, over 155,000 of those, then parking tickets, almost 232,000 of those. That cost over $13 million last year. So it adds up to a really large bill.
That sounds like a lot of money. Is that large? How does it compare to other cities? What's normal?
This definitely isn't something we've seen in other cities we've investigated, right? I do these investigations in Austin, Texas. They issued only about 17,000 traffic tickets last year. Las Vegas was just over 20,000. Nashville also just over 20,000. Baltimore is actually on par with New York City. The numbers are almost identical, even though that's obviously a much larger city. They've got 16 times the population that Baltimore does.
So, Jeremy, what conclusion can we draw from this? Are we just bad drivers, or do we have more tickets being issued just because? It's
definitely more about how many cameras are in place around the city, right?
Gotcha.
And the enforcement rate there. And if you look at the numbers, this is about 1% of total city revenue. If they collected on all of them, they don't. It's only about a 60% rate. But still, 1%, not a ton, but higher than in those other cities that I just mentioned. So you could argue there's more pressure on the police to issue these tickets and get that revenue for the city.
When you talk about that revenue, you mentioned a lot of money there. Do we know where that money is going? And is it beneficial for Baltimore to have those tickets and cameras in place?
Yeah, a lot of it gets reinvested into the roads themselves, right, and boost up infrastructure spending. Some of it gets redistributed to other city services. But either way, it's a much larger revenue source than you're seeing in other cities. So you could argue either way. It's definitely helping the city, but it's a lot of money out of taxpayers' wallets.
Interesting. So you talk about the money that's being brought in from these tickets, but also interestingly, they're trying to close a deficit here in the city. Does that surprise you, seeing those numbers?
I mean, we've seen deficit spending for a long time, right, all around the country. These numbers are consistent with other years we've seen in Baltimore. We've been tracking this for a few years. There hasn't been any significant changes.
Even with the added cameras?
Right. It's slightly higher than some other years, slightly lower than something we saw in the past 5 years. We've been tracking this since 2021. This was right in the middle when I looked at the numbers.
Okay. Very interesting. Jeremy, thank you for breaking down your findings. We appreciate it.
Of course, Megan. I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.